Meanwhile, on Friday, the top Democrat and Republicans on the House Homeland Security Committee struck a deal to create a bipartisan commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the Capitol. House Homeland Security Chairman Bennie Thompson of Mississippi and the panel's ranking Republican, Representative Katko of New York, announced the panel that would be modeled after the September 11th commission. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to lawmakers on Friday that the House would vote on the legislation creating the commission this week, as well as $2 billion supplemental funding bill to bolster the security of the Capitol. Now, the deal represents a significant bipartisan breakthrough on a proposal stalled for months since Pelosi first proposed the commission to investigate the deadly January 6th insurrection. Now, Representative Katko said in a statement that the Capitol remains a target of extremists of all ideologies. It was not completely clear, however, whether House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy, who has been fighting Pelosi over the commission because he's in Donald Trump's pocket, would sign off on the deal. But the Democrats control the House of Representatives, so they know that they're going to be able to pass this. They only need 10 Republicans to support the bill in the Senate. They believe they're going to get that as well. So we will get an independent commission on what happened with the insurrection on January 6th. They are expected to release a report by year end. Now, last Wednesday, Attorney General Merrick Garland and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told senators that the greatest domestic threat facing the United States came from what they both called racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists. Garland told the Senate Appropriations Committee, quote, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race. So, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, the biggest threat, according to our Department of Homeland Security and according to our Department of Justice, who are the two biggest departments that deal with law enforcement in the United States of America, it is not terrorists running across the border from Mexico. It is not terrorists coming from Muslim-dominated countries where we had to have a Muslim ban to protect ourselves. The greatest threat to our democracy, the greatest threat to our security, according to both the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, is homegrown terrorism by white supremacists.
Wow. Let's talk about it.
Huh? Meanwhile,
I feel like we've mentioned this.
I'm surprised they admit to it.
They did. They did admit to it. It's the truth.
Honestly.
Yeah. It's the truth.
Well, we all knew this was the truth, though, because every single time there's a shooting at a mall, a shooting at a school, a shooting in Vegas, the first thing we always say is it a terrorist? Is it a Muslim terrorist?
Okay,
because that's what they always, right?
Yes,
that's the first thing we always ask. And it never, it usually is.
It's usually just a deranged person who should never have had a gun in the first place.
Exactly.
But in terms of domestic terrorism, still our biggest threat is homegrown white supremacists. That doesn't mean it's the only terrorist threat we have, but it is the biggest terrorist threat we have, ahead of terrorists running across the border from Mexico. Muslims, who we completely banned half the world from coming to the United States for years. We spent $5 billion on a wall to protect us from terrorists, and the terrorists are sitting right here, right in front of our nose. Right in front of our nose.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying I'm surprised they actually admitted to it. So I'm happy that this is actual news.
Well, now, let's not forget in 2017 when Donald Trump, when there was a clash of white supremacists and protesters against white supremacy in Charlottesville, Virginia, right after Trump became president. His presidency allowed people who, not to say that he caused white supremacy, because it was always there, but it was always in somebody's basement, very quiet, not bothering anybody, and it allowed them to have a mouthpiece, because Donald Trump allowed it, and allowed them to become more vocal and scary to everybody else. We'll never forget what Donald Trump said, for lack of a better word, white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where Donald Trump commented after the fact, they were very fine people on both sides. Meanwhile, Garland and Mayorkas also testified before the Appropriations Committee that former members of the Trump administration told the House Oversight Committee that Trump's false claims to have won the 2020 election fueled additional domestic terrorism. You will remember House Republicans ousted Representative Liz Cheney last week of Wyoming from her leadership position for publicly pushing back on Donald Trump's claims that the election was stolen from him. Well, on Friday, Elise Stefanik replaced Liz Cheney as House Republicans' third-ranked leader in a 134-46 secret ballot. The 36-year-old New Yorker is known as a moderate, but has turned pro-Trump, and she used her pro-Trump stance to now become the third leading Republican in the House of Representatives. So it pays as a politician, at least at the moment, it pays to be a supporter of Donald Trump. It pays to continue this lie that the election was stolen from him. This lie, which is perpetuated by the Republicans, by Fox News, by some of the other right-wing newscasts, have caused, according to the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, an increase in white supremacy and white terrorism.
And you had said that too, right? Like when we were or everybody was voting for whether they were going to stay on Trump's side or not. And I kept on saying, like, how could these Republicans actually still stay on his side, like knowing damn well, like all the evil things that he's done? You were like, it's to protect their jobs. They still have to protect their jobs. That's wild.
That's right. And until there comes a time when Donald Trump doesn't get you elected. And by the way, maybe it's going to be 2022. We don't know. It's only about a third of America who supports Donald Trump. That 1/3 of America that supports Donald Trump are basically the Republicans who will go out and vote in a primary election. So the key for a Republican is to be pro-Trump in order to get past the primary and then jump to the center and not be so pro-Trump after to get moderates to vote them into office. It'll be a tricky thing for Republicans to do in 2022. Meanwhile,
politics, it's a game.
It's politics, it's a game.
I was just going to say, all positioning.
Yeah, now if after 2022 you go pro-Trump as a Republican, but then you're not able to shift enough to be able to convince more moderate conservatives and independents to vote for you, because remember, you still need to get 50% of the vote to win.
Exactly. Right.
If that's going to be the case, then it's very possible that now Donald Trump starts to lose power. The thing you got to remember about it all is gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is that, you know, all different congressional districts are gerrymandered, meaning that they make a weird district where most of the people in the district are conservative, or most of the people in the district are very liberal. So the theory being that if you could win the Republican primary, there's enough Republicans in your district that you're going to win. It's going to be the districts that go back and forth between Democrat and Republican. There's probably 20 or 30 in total, where it's not a solid bet Republican, a solid bet Democrat. That's what's going to decide the House of Representatives.
Gotcha.
And we'll see how these Republicans do, because you have to attach yourself to Trump to get the primary election win, and then you got to detach yourself in order to get the general election win.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, but that's what's going to happen.
Again,
you know,
it's all positioning.
Yes, yeah. According to our friends at Johns Hopkins University, there are now over 161 million new coronavirus cases worldwide. In the United States, almost 33 million people have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Now, here's the update. Retailers started announcing changes to their mask requirements. You can go into Trader Joe's, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Publix without a mask, as long as you are vaccinated. Now, how in the world will anyone know if you're vaccinated or not? There will be absolutely nobody at the doors of any of these businesses asking for proof you're vaccinated. They can't start saying, give me proof you're vaccinated. Give me your blood test.
To show your card.
What card? You're going to walk around with a card?
Vaccination.
No one's going to ask you that. They're just going to say, are you vaccinated? Yes, no, and you walk in. That's what it's going to be.
So how's that? Okay.
You're not going to need to show proof of a health certificate. And even the head of the CDC said everyone's on their best behavior. We just expect people to tell the truth. Basically, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, many other retailers, including Apple, Target, CVS, and Walgreens, still say they're evaluating. Other law firms like Spar and Bernstein also still evaluating. We're trying to figure it out ourselves. Now, Starbucks updated its policy today, making masks optional for vaccinated customers unless local regulations require the mask by law. So, for example, here in New York, if you go into a Starbucks today and tomorrow, you need a mask. Wednesday morning, masks are no longer optional here in New York, Yo-Yo and Vanessa. I believe, Vanessa, in Florida, masks have never been mandatory.
Right. What's a mask?
They're mandatory through Tuesday. Wednesday, they're optional. Cuomo, as I said, announced that New York State's going to end mask mandates and adopt CDC guidelines. Cuomo said following the CDC guidance, immunocompromised people and unvaccinated people should still wear a mask. So basically, the bottom line is this. People who want to wear masks can wear masks. People who don't want to wear masks don't have to wear masks. If you are vaccinated and you're not wearing a mask, and God forbid you get COVID, you're not going to die. And if, God forbid, you do die, you will be the first person that has been documented to die from COVID after you had a vaccine. So if the idea, this is the whole idea behind removing masks, Yo-Yo and Vanessa. If the idea, and this is what people have to get their head around, if the idea is that you're wearing a mask because you yourself don't want to die of COVID and you are also a good citizen and don't want to infect somebody else who may be compromised, health-wise if they get COVID from dying, then that's what we have been doing for the last year. We have been wearing masks. We have been quarantining for 1 year and change already to try to save the lives of many of our neighbors, friends, and relatives. Assuming we believe the science, and at this point we have to believe the science, that there is, as far as I'm aware, no documented case of a person who had the vaccine and then ultimately died of COVID. There are many cases of people who had the vaccine and got COVID anyway and did not die. So if the idea of wearing a mask is we're preventing deaths, then if you are vaccinated, you don't have to worry unless something changes in the science or unless there becomes a new strain that is not protected by the vaccines that we're taking right now. You don't have to worry that, God forbid, you get sick, you will die. You may get sick from COVID. It may even be pretty bad. But there is no recorded case of anybody vaccinated who then ultimately, after the vaccination, got COVID and died. So if the idea is we don't want people to die, you're vaccinated, you won't die, which is why I believe the CDC is saying if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're walking around and you refuse to get vaccinated and you don't wear a mask, it's on you. If you are immune compromised, you're elderly, you're still concerned about getting COVID, then by all means you should wear a mask. No one's saying not to. It's just optional right now. You get it?
Yeah.
Now,
so wait, are you going to be wearing your mask out?
I will wear my mask near my family because they are going to request me to do so. But outside, I will not be wearing a mask. When I am alone, I will not be wearing a mask. When I walk into a store, I won't wear a mask. But then again, I'm vaccinated, and I just had COVID 6 weeks ago. So I'm I'm pretty confident.
Right.
I'm okay.
Right. Do you feel like, with this now, people are going to be looking at other people weird, like, oh, why aren't you wearing a mask? And, oh, why are you wearing a mask? So, like, do you feel like this is going to cause some kind of conflict?
It will only cause
who don't want to?
To me, it only causes a conflict if you're not vaccinated. if you're vaccinated, you shouldn't have to worry whether somebody's wearing a mask or not, because you have to have faith and confidence in the science that the vaccine's going to work. Meaning that, yeah, you may get a cold. You may get sick and be in bed for days. You may even have a fever. But you're not going to die from this. You got to have faith in that. You got to have faith in that.
I have faith in science. I just don't have faith in humans out there. For me, I trust the science. I just don't trust the people out there to say, to tell us the truth that they got vaccinated. That's just.
Now, meanwhile, Jill told me that the National Nurses United, the nation's largest nurses union, they've condemned this new guidance. The nurses union saying no go on this, no dice on this. I'm quoting the executive director, Bonnie Castillo. She said, the newest CDC guidance is not based on science and does not protect public health. And now is not the time to relax protective measures. And we are outraged that the CDC has done just that while we are still in the midst of the deadliest pandemic in a century. That's what they say. The union noted that more than 35,000 new cases are tallied daily in the United States, and that fears linger over the spread of highly contagious variants. Again, nobody's saying COVID doesn't exist. I don't think anybody has come out and said, if you have a vaccine, you're going to die. So my position is, you may get sick, but you're not going to die. Now, the nurses union, they have their own personal thing. They don't want more people coming into the hospital. They want less work, not more. Not to say people won't get sick, not to say people won't go to the hospitals. But again, my opinion, and this is just me, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not the head of the CDC. But from what I understand, nobody dies if you have the vaccine. And if our only goal is to prevent death, then you have a vaccine, you shouldn't need to wear a mask.
All right.
But that's my opinion. The demonic Chihuahua has finally found a new home with a Connecticut woman. Yes, a demonic Chihuahua. Prancer, the 2-year-old Chihuahua who went viral after his New Jersey foster parent described what to expect from the demonic pooch, has finally been adopted. Ariel Davis, 36, of New Haven, told NBC's Today that she related to Prancer plight when she came across Tiffany Fortuna's hilarious description of the small dog on Facebook. Earlier this month, Fortuna wrote on Facebook that she had tried for months to make the pup sound palatable to potential adopters. She wrote, the problem is, he's just not. There's not a very big market for a neurotic, man-hating, animal-hating, children-hating dog that looks like a gremlin. But I have to believe there's someone out there for Prancer. And finally, Prancer has found a new home. Now, Fortuna said she was convinced at this point he's not a real dog, but more like a vessel for a traumatized Victorian child that now haunts our home, and described him as Chucky the doll. Would you adopt any dog that has been described as Chucky the doll?
No. First of all, I don't even like Chihuahuas, so right.
I wish the best of luck to Ariel Davis. I would not be adopting Chucky the demonic dog.
Everybody needs love. Everyone deserves love.
Even a demonic dog.
Not from me, though.
A cat who saved an elderly man has now become a police chief for the day, and she hates her job. Apparently, Coco Chan, a cat who helped save an elderly man's life last year after she alerted authorities that he had fallen in a ditch and aided for his rescue, received an honorary award from the police in Toyama, Japan. But she doesn't want any part of being the ceremonial chief. Now, she was anointed chief on April 13th, but Coco Chan, she acted as the head of the Department of Traffic Safety on the day of Japan's spring traffic safety campaign. She attended a presentation about traffic safety with a group of elementary students wearing a police officer uniform, complete with a little tiny hat. Now, her take on the human ceremony, she was not pleased at all by the looks of it, and she looked really, really bored. The ceremony, however, has melted many a heart. Some were amazed at Coco's patience during the ceremony. Johnny Saptama tweeted, Coco, I will never save another human being again. Now, Chris, who is great, wrote, I cannot believe that Coco sat through that entire thing. And someone else wondered, did they inject any sedative into Coco to make sure it behaves during the whole process? While one user is now anticipating a Netflix adaptation, can't wait for the animal adaptation. So Coco, bored as you know what, being the police chief. Doris the Tortoise has found a home in Staten Island after escaping from a home in Brooklyn. A 10-day journey has a happy ending for Doris the Lost Tortoise. Doris is now back at home in the arms of her family, the Torreses of Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. She has been part of this family for 22 years. Doris's owner, Laura Torres, said, "We got Doris before even my husband and I got married, 22 years now. We have 2 children. They've always lived with Doris the Tortoise, and it's been part of our family forever." Now, the beloved pet reptile managed to escape from the Torres' home on April 21st when someone left the backyard gate open by mistake, and the tortoise escaped. Doris's escape began a massive community search that even got support from the local politician, New York City Councilman Justin Brannan. Laura said, quote, "It's been like amazing. Everybody knows about this tortoise. I walk out and people are looking, children are looking, people are looking, their dogs are even looking. They're searching the yards, their front yards. Everyone's looking for this turtle." We got from Justin Brannan, he kind of picked up the information and also put them on his Facebook page, which we appreciated greatly. Now, she's an African leopard tortoise, and now Google mapped how far it is from Doris's home, close to 94th Street in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, to Staten Island, 21.5 miles. Nobody knows how Doris got there.
Wait, how the heck did it swim? Did it get on a ferry?
I don't know how it got to Staten Island.
How far could it get?
I don't know.
Like, how far could a tortoise
Well,
get?
maybe it did swim. Tortoises do swim, so it's possible it went swimming. Possible it went in the water and then took a swim over to Staten Island. I don't know. I mean, I've swam with the turtles before. Have you ever gone snorkeling and seen the turtles? They swim.
No, I have, but like the fact that it like that much land and then over the water, it's just like, wait.
On April 23rd, a large bunny named the majestic Alex the Great was spotted in the crowd soaking up the atmosphere at San Francisco Giants home game against the Miami Marlins. It's obviously a baseball game for those who don't know. The therapy bunny, who is just over 4 months old, came with its owner, Kato, and Josh Rowe to his first Giants game. Kato got Alex when he was just 1 month old. Now Alex has caught everyone's attention, including the official scorer, David Feldman, who announced in the 7th inning, "Tonight's attendance is 4,580 people, not including the rabbit." And one commenter on Alex's Instagram, because of course he has his own dedicated Instagram, suggested that he be adopted as the new Giants mascot, given their 3-0 win over the Marlins, with Alex the bunny in the stands. Now, he's already been to a NASCAR event at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, hit the water with kayaking, and even visits the beach. And that is Alex the bunny. There he is at NASCAR.
Oh, he's so cute.
And that is our Fuzzy Monday stories for the day. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.